Hello. I am a politically incorrect personality core. I'm in the process of writing another video response, but I had to pause on it to address this video. You could not take down Lauren Southern if you tried, and I would like to rebut each and all of your points, using your video, and the video you are critiquing. Wow. My first response video to a response video. I'm almost proud of myself.
Hey Lauren Southern, so we're the feminists that you were talking to, and you think you don't need feminism?
If she believes that she doesn't need feminism, then that is her belief. If she is not interested in it, then you should respect her wishes. If she wants to advocate against you, she has that right.
Well, here's an example of what it would sound like without feminism.
Oh boy. Am I required to put the lotion in the basket else I get the hose again?
Say goodbye to your voice and your opinion.
Funny, aren't you attempting with this disgusting display of appealing to emotions to destroy her voice and her opinions? She is entitled to both, and this emotionally charged rhetoric is going to get you nowhere.
You are now just a piece of property.
Point to me the legislation in any Western country which stipulates that women are property. I would like to remind you that there are numerous pieces of legislation designed specifically to punch up women. Perhaps you have forgotten them. The unfortunate reality is that while the legislature is there, sometimes it cannot prevent people from being assholes in the Western world. But those people are assholes.
This isn't an 1800 mindset.
Yes, it is. In the Western world, this is exactly an 1800 mindset, which persisted through until the early 1900s. But we are also forgetting specific instances when women had the right to vote through ownership of land and property, which has happened. Yes, it was somewhat limited, but it did exist. It did happen. Don't believe me? Look at the history of the laws in America.
This is still happening to women today.
Oh boy.
In North Korea,
No.
Pakistan,
Don't.
Iran,
Jesus Christ.
Saudi Arabia, and more.
Cake fucking damn it. You are talking about the Middle East and a communist country which is a known appalling treatment for its people, man, woman and child. You are literally attempting to justify feminism in the West by pointing to the Middle East and saying, look, those countries have issues with women's rights, and I'm forced to say, yes they do, and you go, well, that's why you need feminism. That is not an argument, particularly when Miss Southern says there is no need for feminism in the West. Keyword: West. I apologize for not being as calm as I wanted to be, but holy cake, this is outright disingenuous. How about pointing to issues here in the West that require feminism? Again, I challenge you to look for laws which prohibit women from achieving the same as a man. How about we look at all that's being done for women's rights now, like affirmative action, like the diversity quotas in the workplaces? Please, stop talking about countries that we know need change. You are not in the Middle East. If you want to advocate on the behalf of those disadvantaged women in the Middle East and North Korea, you are more than welcome to go there and advocate for them. But please do not use them as your excuse for feminism here.
So today I wanted to speak to those feminists and explain why I'm still not a feminist and why third wave feminism is not in fact a movement for equality. I want to start by asking a question. If feminism is a movement for equality, why do we not see equal representation of both genders' issues? And why do we not see feminists complaining about benefits that women have over men in certain situations?
This look of disgust of yours is just disrespectful. You can disagree with someone, but that was just downright rude. I know exactly what you are thinking about, Miss Southern. You play the emotional manipulation game right out the gate and then follow it up with disrespect and look nothing more than a petulant child.
I bet very few people watching this video right now know that around 100,000 to 140,000 males are raped annually in US prisons. This is more males raped than females in the US annually, yet feminists remain silent on the issue.
You do realize that your statistics here in reference to both male rapes and female rapes are sourced from a study completed in 1998, right? Similarly, the study itself is called Prevalence, Incidence and Consequences of Violence Against Women Survey. I do not want to say that the 15, almost 16-year-old study is biased, but if we take a close look at questions asked in the survey, the women of a female respondents only question, which reads, has a man or boy ever made you have sex by using force or threatening to harm you or someone close to you? Just so there is no mistake, by sex we mean putting a penis in your vagina. I would like to know where the male respondents only question, has a woman or girl ever made you have sex by using force or threatening to harm you or someone close to you? Just so there is no mistake, by sex we mean forceful envelopment of your penis with her vagina, or the oral variant has gotten off too. The fact of the matter is, this is a 15-year-old study that does not reflect current society. If you wanted to argue this point, I would perhaps look at the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey, which stipulates that 1 in 5 women and 1 in 71 men have been raped at some time in their lives. However, I have some issues with this study. They omit the data for estimated number of male victims of rape for a 12-month period, yet they still supply a lifetime statistic, which contributes to the 1 in 71 statistic. Similarly, the mathematics within the tables do not make sense. If I am incorrect in my interpretation of the data, please correct me within the comments. I am not aware of any mathematics that takes 13%, 27.2%, 33.7% and makes 44.6%. But all of this is besides the point. The 100,000 to 140,000 rapes annually in prison statistic Miss Southern quotes is to highlight that feminists like you seem to be silent on the issue, and when it is brought up, you cite this 1 in 6 statistic, inferring that female rapes are more important. Why?
Almost half the domestic abuse victims in the US and Canada are men. Yet there are no safe houses for them, no court advocacy programs, no subsidized counseling or legal care like women.
I like how here you don't provide any source, despite having provided one for your rape statistics. But you are somewhat correct in your statement. There are men's shelters, but these shelters suffer from a huge lack of funding and are regularly campaigned against by radical feminists. These radical feminists do not want to hear anything about men's rights, but only want to stomp on them because of hatred. Tell me, is this how anyone behaves in a civil discourse? So when men's shelters are formed, they do not receive the same benefits that women's shelters do, which are not picketed by angry third-wave feminists.
Despite being half the victims, they are basically ignored. Men make up 80% of suicide victims, 92% of workplace deaths.
Awesome, you have provided links. Except that they both are links to the exact same place. I have visited the website and it looks very well thought out, and has a lot of initiatives for people who suffer violence. Thank you for providing this link. What? Did you expect me to argue with you? What I think Miss Southern was attempting to articulate with this point is that in the discourse, male abuse is either ignored or downplayed. How telling is it that the first thing you did, when talking about the yearly rapes of men in prison, you pulled out a statistic comparing female lifetime rapes against male lifetime rapes, inferring that simply because more women were being raped we should pay less attention to male rape.
97% of combat deaths and 77% of homicide victims. Men are objectified, men are raped, men are mistreated.
Good. Consider this statement from Swan, servicewomen.org. Swan's position. Swan believes that the most effective military is one where women are integrated into all sectors. Swan advocates for one single physical fitness standard for both men and women, and for occupational standards that are task-oriented and gender-neutral. Additionally, Swan believes that women should be eligible for selective service. One single physical fitness standard for both men and women? Ignoring the biological fact that men and women are different? There is a reason why competitive sports are typically segregated by gender. I would love to see how a woman would like to be tackled as men are tackled in Australian Rugby League, one of the more brutal versions of football. There are several instances today where groups like the police or several women have claimed discrimination for having failed them. Do you want to live in a world where you are unable to be protected by the police that has sworn to serve you because they are physically unfit for it? I want the best people suited for the job to do the job. The biological fact is that men are.
Men are held to ridiculously high societal standards, just like women. Yet feminists continue to place this blanket judgment over all men that they are all privileged, and all women that they are all oppressed. Yet, as a woman, I will almost...
The website that you linked to is saying exactly what Miss Southern is saying. Quote, compared to girls, research shows that boys and youth are more likely to be diagnosed with a behavior disorder, prescribed stimulant medications, fail out of school, binge drink, commit a violent crime, and/or take their own lives. The mask you live in asks, as a society, how are we failing our boys? You seem to once again misunderstand what Miss Southern is saying, but are focusing on what you approve of in an attempt to disprove her points. The majority of the focus is on women, not the issues of both men and women. Do you see two men going to the UN to complain about what people on the internet said about them? How can you not see the disparity? One instance of people working towards something is not enough to offset the sheer weight of third-wave feminism, which is a huge amount of platforms, like yours right now. Women have massive opportunities to talk about their issues and are getting a lot of help. Yet men are being sidelined, told to become allies, or be labeled as misogynists. Besides, what you have written is, the Representation Project is a movement created by feminists, which is used to exploit the harmful effects of masculinity on young men. Typo? Or Freudian slip?
always win custody of children in a divorce case. I will receive less than half the sentence a man does for the exact same crime, and actually have my rape and assault accusations taken seriously, and I won't be laughed at for not being manly enough.
Ooh, goody, a link to everyday feminism. While the researcher states that she went into the article intent on in-depth research on the topic, reading her article just smacks of typical feminist buzzwords. Patriarchal. Gender roles. I agree with the author of the article that fathers' rights should not be above children's rights. However, that goes similarly for the mother's rights, which the article doesn't stipulate. The writer says that although fathers have the right to be involved in their children's lives, they also need to put the rights and needs of the children before their own. Typically, to a father, this means paying alimony, paying child support, and letting the mother take the child. I do not care about gender roles. Please, for the love of Kate, do not bring them up. They literally do not matter and I do not care. Just be fair to the damn child.
With one quick Google search, I can find a safe house in my area if I have been in an abusive relationship. As a woman, I am more likely to get a government or military job, despite qualifications, just to fill a quota due to affirmative action.
Again, thank you for showing us all of these links to male domestic violence shelters and hotlines. Where is your little card about diversity quotas? Do you not want to talk about that?
And I am also more likely to get into a university because of my gender. So if feminism really were a movement for equality, you would see feminists rioting about the 140...
The dreaded, we're doing this already, argument. If I had hands, I would have destroyed my chassis with so great a facer palm it could be heard atop Everest. Do these feminist organizations allow other organizations to advocate for men's rights, given that there are some feminist groups that do not? Or does the mere presence of feminist organizations disavow such advocating by others who are not licensed? I hope you also realize that if these were the feminist organizations that actually do promote equality for both genders, these are typically run by second-wave feminists, which I am sure Miss Southern has no problem with. You are again forgetting this speech is combating third-wave feminism in the West.
40,000 men raped, you would see them questioning the fact that women get less than half the prison sentence a man does for the exact same crime.
I have checked out the website you have provided a link for, and I must say I do not care for it. Again, this card being presented is not contradicting Miss Southern's point. All you are stating is a website is pro-feminist and anti-violence, but not telling the viewers what it is achieving regarding Miss Southern's points.
Yet, we do not see equal representation of men's and women's issues. Despite popular belief, feminism is not, in fact, a synonym for equality. I'm not trying to say that men have more issues than women. My point is that both genders have issues.
Oh good. The no true Scotsman fallacy. I committed it in my last video because the point there is true. Some bad eggs in police is not indicative of a greater problem, but in this case it is a little more complex. Especially considering you are equating gender to an ideology. Yes, women behaving badly within a movement can and will tarnish the movement. Man is a gender, not a political position. Jesus Christ. But you are very much correct that we shouldn't allow this wedge between the genders. We must be equal for all. Every single voice has the right to speak. That is equality.
And to argue that feminism is a movement for equality and doesn't just represent one gender's issues is quite frankly ridiculous. So this is why I'm not a feminist.
Again, another pro-feminist organization. It seems that you have trouble coping with the idea that something is not feminist. You must think that not being a feminist makes you a bigot. She said in the video, feminism is not synonymous with equality. It is a political movement for the belief that men and women should have equal rights and opportunities, with a focus on women. If you want to fight for both, then call yourself equalist. It's in the cake damn name, guys.
I'm not a feminist because I believe that both genders should be treated equally and both their issues should be addressed. I'm not a feminist because I believe I should prove that I'm worthy of a job rather than having it given to me to fill a quota. I'm not a feminist because feminists are unintentionally creating a world of reverse sexism that I don't want to be a part of.
Oh goody. I don't even know where to begin here. The pay gap is a myth. Men already can and do stay at home as fathers. Whether or not they are shamed for it is up to the individuals doing that shaming behavior. Again, you are inferring that because feminism is doing it, no one else can. You're basically stating what Miss Southern is saying, but you're so far up the ass of the ideological hippo you can't see it.
So I will stick to promoting equality and justice, rather than a faux form of equality under the label of a gender-biased word, feminism.
Third wave feminism has done more to exploit male oppression than any other wave.
What? What the fuck?
Third wave feminism has done more to exploit male oppression than any other wave. What the fuck?
And has addressed not only gender, but race, class, sexual orientation, religion, and so much more.
You are literally talking about humanism here. If feminism is the fight for equal rights between the sexes, where does race come into it? How can it? It's a gendered term, a gendered ideology. What in the flying spaghetti monster is feminism doing involving itself in race? Third wave feminism is perhaps one of the most dogmatic things that I can think of outside of radical Islam. When you are not disturbing peaceful men's rights speeches, you are going on television to complain about the air conditioning being sexist. You are being afforded more rights currently than men. Where are the quotas for bringing men into a workforce? Where is the quota to bring women into garbage disposal, which has been a primarily male-dominated industry? You are examples of what feminism has become. Opening up with an emotional appeal, and then barely discussing each of Miss Southern's points. even going so far to argue her points with everyday feminism, a reference with an ideological bias. You do not want to see anyone but yourselves in positions of power, and hate that a woman dares say no to feminism.
Third wave feminism is probably the most inclusive of all people, anyone that has ever been oppressed, any minority, throughout the whole world.
Anyone who has to say they're inclusive isn't inclusive.
I don't know about you, but I need feminism.
I don't know about you, but I desperately need a drink.